What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Into the Wind. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about and specifically focusing on wind speed and direction. So we are out here today in what I call the killing fields. This is where I do most of my pig hunting at. And it's a nice wide open spot. And then I've got a bunch of brush and stuff I can go into to do my hunting. But that's not why we're here. We're here to talk about wind, speed, and direction. So we got a pretty decent wind today. Hopefully this mic I'm wearing is cutting down on that. So I'm going to show you a couple of my favorite ways to get the wind speed and direction. Are you helping me out today? Come here, baby girl. This is Miss Tika helping me out with the wind calls today, aren't you? Yes, you are. Oh, yes, sweet girl. So one thing I think is probably going to be the most important part, at least the most important piece of equipment, even though I hardly ever use it. And that is going to be some type of compass. Now I have two compasses that I use. One is just a kind of an inexpensive plastic one. I think it's like a Sumo or something like that. I'm not sure what it is. They're about 20 bucks. You can get them at most of your sporting goods stores. I pretty much just keep that in my range bag. And then I keep one of these military type compasses. I actually just keep this in my truck. So if I'm ever in my truck or I've got my bag with me and I need a compass for some reason, then I've got one. So this is pretty simple. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have you be my target. So if you paid attention to the last episode, whatever your target is, that is going to be 12 o'clock. So what we're going to do is we're going to get our compass. And depending on your compass, so this one actually has a little eyepiece right in front that you can look at and get your declination or your exact angle. So we're going to set this top piece here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to face my target, and I'm going to set this right at 0. And then what you can do from this point is you basically just turn into the wind, which my wind, I like to take off my hat or turn it backwards, take off my glasses. And I'm going to face right into the wind. So pretty much this is my wind direction here. So when we look down here, we'll have our exact angle of wind. Or you can use that angle and use a calculator or get that cosine. If you have a printed sheet with the angle cosines on it or sines, you can get that sign, and then that's going to tell you what percentage of wind that you're going to use. On this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look straight at you. It has a little piece here. I don't know if you can see that, kind of like on like a handgun. It just gives you a very tiny area. So I'm going to basically point that right at you guys. Don't worry, it's not loaded. And then I'm going to look in this hole here, and I'm going to see that I'm going to wait till it settles down. So I am exactly 240 degrees. So I'm going to remember 240 degrees. And again, I'm going to turn into the wind. So I want to feel it on my face. So there we go. So 240 degrees. I'm going to do the same thing. There we go. I'm going to look in here, and I'm going to see that I am at 10 degrees. Closer to 11. I'm going to call it 10 for easy math. What we're going to do is we're going to take that that top number. So it's 240. We're going to minus 10 degrees, which is going to give us 230 degrees. We're going to use our calculator, and we're going to get the cosine for that. To get our sine is very easy. We're just going to look for the symbol right here, SIN. The one that's highlighted, we're going to press that. And then we're going to type in our angle, which we decided it was 230 degrees. So our sine for 230 degrees is going to be 0.76. So this tells us we're going to calculate for 76% of our value, of our wind value. Right. And to get our direction, what we're going to do is I'm going to actually just face right towards the camera. So you guys are sitting at 240 degrees. We're just going to use our compass on our phone. We're going to face to our target. We're going to hit the center, and that's going to highlight that and put that place and hold. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to turn into the wind. So I'm going to feel kind of just feel it on my face, check both sides, and right there. So now we know it's coming from 10 degrees. So then what we're going to do is we're going to take 240. We're basically taking the highest number and we're going to subtract the lowest number, and that's going to give us our degree. So our angle. So 240 minus 10 is going to be 230. So we're going to go back over to our calculator, show this one more time. So we're going to hit our sign, which is the button here highlighted. That's going to pull up our sign. We're going to enter 230 degrees, enter. And again, that's going to give us 0.76. So we're going to calculate for her 76% of the full value of the wind. So 10 miles per hour, we're going to calculate for 0.76 miles per hour. If we apply it to our mill hold, if we have a full value or a one full mill wind hold, we're going to hold 0.76 mils. So it's that simple. Okay, so it's pretty simple. You're just going to take the largest number of the angle, subtract the lower one, and that's going to give you the direction. And you're going to take that, get your sign, and that's going to give you your percentage of wind that you're going to be calculating for. You can apply that percentage to your mills. So let's say we're going to be having, it's going to be let's say 30 degrees, which is going to be a 50% value. What we're going to do is we can go ahead and do our calculation. Let's say it's 1 full mil for our full value wind. Because we're at 30 degrees, which is going to be 0.5 on the sign, we're only going to calculate for half of that value. So we can take our full mil and we're going to cut that in half. So we're going to have a 0.5 mil hold. Or let's say we have a 10 mile per hour wind. That 0.5 value is 50%. So we're going to take our 5 mile per hour wind. We're going to do our calculation. Our 10 mile per hour wind, we're going to cut it in half to a 5 mile per hour wind. And we're going to do our calculation with a 5 mile per hour wind. So you can put that 50% either on your mill or on to actually your wind speed. So it's very easy. What happens if you don't have a compass? This is going to be the easiest way in my opinion. And this is pretty much what I'm going to do. I'm going to say 90% of the time, unless I'm shooting extreme long range. Once I start really getting past 800 yards, when I'm shooting out to 1,000, it depends on what I'm doing. But really anything past 800 yards, I'm going to use probably a ballistic calculator. But anything 1,000 in, 800 in, I'm going to use this method here, and that is simply my body, my face, and a clock method. So the way that works, again, I'm going to use you guys as 12 o'clock. And then I'm going to simply face into the wind. I'm going to use my face. I'm going to use my beard. You can feel it on your shirt. And I'm just going to turn until I feel the wind evenly on my face, which is roughly about here. So compared to you guys, that is going to be 3, 4, roughly 4 o'clock. So I'm going to say 4 o'clock. I'm going to call that 4 o'clock on our wind value. Our wind direction. And then to get that cosine for 4 o'clock, I just remember every 15 degrees is 30 minutes. We're going to count that up, and then that is going to be our percentage that we're going to use. If you don't have everything memorized, I do wear a watch, and I basically have kind of military hours on here. So you can do this a bunch of different ways. It's honestly, it's best to just memorize that 4 o'clock is going to be 70% value. Another thing you can do is just kind of imagine it's on your clock every 30 minutes. So we know at 90 degrees is going to be a full value wind, which is going to be 100%. So I'm going to go ahead and face that way. That's our 90 degrees from you guys, and then which is going to be 3 o'clock. And then we're going to go back down. So remember 25, 50, 70, 86, 96, and 100. So I'm at 100. And then I'm going to go 96, 86, and then 70. But I'm right in between. I would probably call this 70 mile per hour wind. I'm sorry, not 70 mile per hour wind. 70% of our wind speed that we're going to be calculating for. and of course using our a little bit more accurate compass. I believe, if I remember correctly, I had about 76%. So we're going to have a little bit of an error there, but that is just kind of part of it, doing it this way. But that's typically how I'm going to do it. And so we're going to say, using my method, using my face and my body, I got 70. Using the calculator and the compass, we got 76. So that's a very simple, very easy way to get our wind direction and to calculate the percentage of the wind that we're going to be actually calculating for. So next, now that we got our wind direction, we need to get our wind speed. Okay, so the next piece of equipment that we're going to need to get our wind speed is some type of wind meter. Now, I do like and recommend something on the higher end of the Kestrel ballistics. This is the 5700, and it has the upgraded whatever it is. So just in case there's anyone asking out there, well, why are you using a compass? Why are you using a method of facing into the wind when you have a Kestrel? Well, batteries die. So I always try to teach methods that if all you have is a handful of bullets and your gun, that you can make hits out at long range with basically no equipment, having everything up here, knowing exactly what to do. Once I get to wherever I'm at and I know that I'm gonna have to calculate for wind, as soon as I step out of the truck, I'm paying attention to the wind. I want to see the wind speed, wind direction, stuff like that. But the main thing is really the wind speed. The longer that you can get a reading, so using one of these, the longer, the more effective and the more accurate your wind reading is going to be. So like right now, the wind speed just picked up. It went from nothing to, we're probably 6 miles an hour at the moment. So what I'm going to do, and what I recommend doing, is anytime you go out, is face into the wind and get a good estimate. So I know if I'm just barely feeling the wind on my face, it's just a very slight breeze, probably going to be roughly about 3 miles an hour. If I can feel the wind on my face, it's a pretty strong amount. I know it's more than 3. I start really feeling it through the hair of my beard. I can kind of feel it on my eyebrows a little bit. I know we're going to be in the 5 to 7. However, if I see some trees and they're blowing pretty hard, I know I'm probably going to be in the 10 to 15 mile an hour range, probably a little bit closer to 15 miles an hour. So those are indicators to give you a general idea. But you're going to face into the wind. I want you to give it your best guess. I'm paying attention to the lowest level of wind, the lowest speed, and the highest that I can feel. So the lowest I'm going to say so far that I've felt out here is probably about 2 miles an hour. So I know that I'm going to calculate for a minimum of 2 miles an hour wind. The highest, I'm going to say probably not quite 10 miles an hour. Right now, we're going to go ahead and go to our wind. And I'm going to guess so right now we're probably 3 miles an hour. So I'm going to get on here. I'm going to stop the video. I'm going to probably get, in general, I'm going to recommend you're just going to hold this up, shoot into the wind for about 2 minutes. So on the low side, I was estimating roughly 2 miles an hour. On the high side, I was estimating close to 10, which we did get up to 8 miles an hour. I had to do it again and held it up for only about 30 seconds, which on average, I'm getting roughly about 6 miles an hour. So you can see, even though we're facing into the wind and just using our face and our body, is still very accurate. I do like to get a minimum and a maximum wind, and I'll run the calculations for both, so I know that I'm going to need to hold between on the minimum wind as the wind drops down. I know I'm going to need to hold, just an example, 0.3 mils. And then if I feel the wind start gusting up a little bit to closer to my max, I know that I'm going to need to hold, let's say 0.6. So, okay, so hopefully all that makes sense. I've seen some methods where it just seems like it overly complicates it. I think just really the best method, I think the most accurate method is going to be with either like a ballistic calculator. But aside from that is using either your phone. You're probably always going to have your phone on you, but again, batteries die. So always have some type of compass as a backup. And it's very, very accurate and very effective. I also recommend just going to the store and getting like the least expensive calculator that you can find, like a scientific calculator. Something that has the sine and the cosine, something like that. Don't go spend $200 or anything. Just go to a store. I got one and it was, I think, 20, maybe $25. Just a small calculator. I do recommend getting the one that has the solar strip in it. That way, if the batteries die in it, you still have the power of the sun, and it's always going to work. It's never going to go out on you. And then as a backup to your calculator, you're always going to have your compass. And again, compasses are not very expensive. They're not very hard to use with this method. So definitely get a compass, get a calculator, and you're going to be a master at reading and calculating wind in no time. And that's it for this episode, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Again, remember, compasses are very, very inexpensive. You can do most of this stuff that we're doing within 1,000 yards is pushing it, but 800 yards and in, you don't have to go out and buy a ballistic calculator, something like a Kestrel. It's just a calculator, a little bit of knowledge that I'm trying to show you here, and a compass, and we can take these long range shots. Pretty simple. So appreciate you guys tuning in and watching. I'm trying to do a video and get better equipment and doing a video for you guys at least once a week. That's my goal for season 2. So again, thank you guys so much.